Forever. Dog.
Just between us. Hey. Just between us. Hey.
Hello! I'm Allison Raskin. I'm a writer, mental health advocate, and I recently went up on my mental health medication.
Hi, I'm Gaby Dunn. I'm a writer, bisexual icon, weak, and I've been sober for 6 months, 10 days, 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 7 seconds. Hey, according to my sober app.
How are you feeling?
Fine. It's funny how quickly you once you take that off the table, you forget it's an option. Although I will say fake alcohols are, I'm sorry. I don't mean, if we get sponsored by fake alcohol, I love it. But some fake alcohols are gross.
I like to have like a mocktail where it's just like
Yeah.
juices and like seltzers
Yeah.
and like, so it's still like a fun drink, but it's not like attempting to be like a fake beer, if that makes sense.
Have you ever heard of a shrub?
No, what's that?
A shrub is like a fermented, it's like a drink where they use like fermented or like pickled like juice substance, and they put it with seltzer and like flavors and stuff, and it kind of has this like biting taste. It's really good actually, but it's non-alcoholic.
Is there mushrooms in it?
No.
I don't want to drink
What?
a mushroom. I'm just going to say that
You're
here
not
right now.
You don't.
I'm not interested in drinking mushrooms.
Allison Raskin, I don't want to drink a mushroom. Nobody's asking you to drink a mushroom.
A lot of these drinks, they try to sneak a mushroom in.
Who?
And it was called shrub. I don't know. I'm just on alert.
Like shroom plus rub? Shrub?
I don't know. Yeah,
It's like a drink from like the it's like a drink from olden times. I had one at the farm we went to, and then I had another one at Andre's Fine Dining, Lakeside Dining, which is a restaurant we went to with my parents and Mal's parents to celebrate the engagement.
Oh yeah, how did that go?
It was fine. My parents have started listening to the podcast again, which is a real bummer for me. But they've started listening to it again. And so I'll say it went great.
Okay, well, we'll talk offline. Anyway.
Yeah. No, it was fine. I mean, it was really sweet. The restaurant we went to was really great. And it's like all this stuff, what's cool about like where we're living is like all this stuff is like so like the people who run it are there, and it's like local, and like we met the owner, and like they know the other people we know. And so it's like this fun, like you feel like you're part of a community, which is cool.
Oh, that's lovely.
And then all the parents are our moms. I will say, so our moms got us, Mal's mom got us a gift that's a picture of us from like after we got engaged, like where we were cleaned up and we were dressed up nice, where we took those pictures. And it says, it's like a frame for the house that says just all because two people fell in love, right? It's a picture of me and Mal. But then at the same time, my mom brought a present for Mal's parents that was a picture of me and Mal, but from the time we actually got engaged. So we're in our like regular shirt and shorts holding the ring up. And it said something like family is found to be new, something like some other quote or whatever. So the moms had the exact same thought.
Wow. My mom would never do that. Like, I can't even imagine a world where my mom would buy a frame that said something on it.
They bought, but Mal's parents got it for me and Mal, and my mom got one for Mal's parents. Yeah.
I understand. But it's just so funny. Like, we grew up, my mom's a professional photographer, and we grew up with like 2 photos of us in the home, and then just like abstract black film.
That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, look, the frames are like, they're like, from Target, where it's like marriage is like Mal's sister. It's super cute, but Mal's sister got us a mug that's like marriage, and then the definition of marriage, and it's like, like people, there's a lot of wedding and marriage type merch that people are really into getting you.
Yeah, I'm hoping my next book will be included in that.
Oh my God.
I'm really writing it as merch.
That's what because my brain is so warped by like us being podcasters, and I'm like, wedding merch.
Anyway, this is Just Between Us, a variety show filled with heartfelt advice
Ridiculous games.
and brutal honesty.
When is your book coming out?
I think it's slated to come out in January 2024.
Well, I'll already
So-
be I'll already be married.
Yeah, but it's also for married couples. There's a lot of
okay.
the work doesn't end at I do, Gabby. If I'm learning anything.
I opened the book in January 2024. I go, oh my God, I have to get a divorce. I close it. No, we interviewed my mom about prenups on Bad with Money.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Because she's a divorce attorney. She was like a really good interview. Like she was like really smart and she had like all her facts and all her like knowledge and stuff. So you could almost kind of forget that she's a little cuckoo. No, she's brilliant.
My mom got interviewed. We got interviewed together for the podcast Terrible Thanks for Asking. And Ruth Raskin brought it. She is a star. She hates being interviewed and she hates speaking publicly, but oh man, is she good at it.
Right? It's
Yeah.
lovely. We did, if you want to go listen, we did an episode with Allison's mother a couple years ago or a year ago. So check out Ruth Raskin on our show, Just Between Us, which you're currently listening to.
Okay. We have got a great episode for everyone today.
This week, we're going to be asking Danielle Bayard Jackson some tough questions about friendship coaching.
And later, we're going to be talking all about investigating a former head of state. And if this is your first time listening to this podcast, we understand that it's confusing. But first, we have got to answer a listener's question. And you know what that means? Hit it! International question! International question! International question! Sophia, Macau. There is some debate if it's Macau or Macaw, but after some research, we went with Macau. But if we were wrong, I'm really sorry. Dear Allison and Gabby, I'm Sophia from Macau. I'm staying and sleeping at my boyfriend's place for half of the week, but we have major differences in many of our sensory preferences. But the most troubling of all is the temperature. I hate hot environments as it makes me sweaty and irritated. However, he easily gets cold. When we sleep together, he has to curl up in a ball while I sleep in my puddle of sweat. It really affects our quality of sleep, although we are both compromising a little already. How do you manage sensory preference in a shared environment? Regards, Sophia. Oh, did John submit this question?
Allison, do you remember when we would record JBU and you wanted it to be freezing? And I
No,
was
I would want it to be hot.
Oh, you want it to be hot. And I was
Right.
so hot.
No, people would like come into my place and be like, Allison, it's 78 degrees. And I'd be like, exactly.
I was sweating. I mean, I was sweating. I would try to compromise with you. Like, can we take it down a couple notches? You like would, but you were also like deeply upset. Like, we have very different temperature needs. And it was like always a fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, I continue to have that with my partner, and the nighttime is a struggle.
Okay, here's my question. Why don't you just get 2 separate blankets?
Well, no, we do. So we have a cover sheet. So we have a top sheet. Don't come at me about that. I like having a top sheet, and I don't want to get into an argument about it with people on the internet. Anyway, we have a top sheet, we have a thin blanket, and we have a quilt. Shared, but anyway, he can decide between those 3. You know, you don't need to have them all on. And then I have a separate heavy blanket that after months of me saying I needed, he finally purchased for me. But I will admit that part of the problem that led him to taking so long to purchase me the blanket was that I kept saying that I wanted a fox fur blanket. And this was very confusing to him because I'm a vegetarian that obviously does not wear fur. But I thought that the word F-A-U-X, which is pronounced faux, is pronounced fox.
When did you learn that? When did you learn that it was faux?
When he figured out what the fuck I meant.
So that, oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry. Back up.
crying.
So you thought up until like this year, you thought it was fox fur?
Yes. And I was like, I want a fox fur blanket. I want a fox fur blanket because I'm so cold in the night.
Okay, now hear me out. When you heard people say this is faux fur, what did you think that meant?
A different descriptor. I don't know.
But
I have problems with words.
But you thought they were saying F-O fur and it was a different type of fur, and then F-A-U-X fur.
That much. I just would say it, but I would also describe to him that what I needed was a heavy blanket that wasn't a weighted blanket, because I find weighted blankets to be way too heavy. But I needed something that had real substance to it at the same time, which I have found a faux fur blanket to provide. But I was describing it incorrectly, which is on me. And apparently he was like Googling fox fur blankets.
And then, oh my God, but then this is like a sitcom. If he had shown up with a fox fur blanket, you would have been like,
horrified.
What is wrong with you? Yeah, you would have been like, you killed a fox?
I would have been so upset. He was so confused.
Oh my God.
So anyway, this is a pretty common issue. And something that we are navigating is like, the problem is that the air is like right above the bed. And so if the air is on too high, even though I'm wearing socks, pants, a shirt, sweatshirt, 3 layers plus my special blanket, I can't fall asleep if I'm too cold. So sometimes I have to say, can you wait until I fall asleep and then can you put the air on?
Wow. Mal told me that they have a whole second life while I'm asleep.
Yeah.
Like that, like I guess I fall asleep first, and then Mal's like, they are like, oh, I'm doing like other stuff while you're asleep.
Yeah, John's always researching all of this stuff that I don't know anything
Researching?
About. Yeah,
what is Mal researching?
All sorts of things, probably. But this is a very real problem. And for years, my mom has iced out my dad. All the time, I'll scream to John, "Are you icing me out?" when he puts the air on when I don't.
So you don't know what words mean. Like, you don't know what words mean.
I'm being iced out. I'm being iced out.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
It's very cold and I feel icy. It's making me want to leave my own home.
It's making you want to leave, yeah.
Words can have multiple meanings.
Okay, so here's the thing. Even if you're a couple, there's these like things that are supposed to be in a house are supposed to be romantic that like sometimes just are not. If you need 2 separate blankets, if you need to like, if you're someone who's like, I can't be touched in the night and I need to sleep in this certain way, like it's not a personal affront to the other person. Mal likes very nice towels, but what I need to get out of the shower, because I don't like being wet, is I need a big towel. I need like a massive beach towel for myself when I get out of the shower. I want the biggest. When you go to a hotel and it's a little itty bitty towel, I hate it. So I need to be engulfed by a towel the minute I get out of the shower. So we had these nice towels that Mal picked out, and I like suffered. And then finally I like broke down and I was like, I just need just one large towel for me, just for me. And it's not going to match the rest of the bathroom. And it's not going to like, match. It's not going to be aesthetically pleasing. But I said, please, 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 can I have a big towel? And they were fine. They were like, okay. And now I just have my massive towel and I feel good, Like that's compromise.
Yeah, and it's like having different accommodations. So thinking about this like specific example, like you can add more, whereas like you can take away when you're hot, so like I think maybe it is this compromise of like having to make the air a little cooler, but providing him with tons of extra blankets. Maybe he can sleep in a hat. A hat can keep you warm. Also like very thick socks. And then another
socks
addition
are
would be,
key.
I can't sleep without a sock on. I have a
Socks
sock
are
on
key.
almost all day long because I get too cold if I don't have a sock on. And then another thing is, what if like you set up where you had a fan just blowing on you, and so it didn't blow on them? Like really get Melissa, why are you so upset about that?
What's wrong with a fan?
Her nose gets stuffy if a fan is blowing on her. Okay, but we'll see. Maybe her boyfriend doesn't have a stuffy nose with a fan. I don't know. Everyone has different, really getting creative with the ways in which you're dealing with this instead of just like ignoring it, which I like is why you asked this question, because I think some people would just suffer, but like buy him like very heavy blankets. Maybe he needs a weighted blanket. Maybe he could handle a weighted blanket.
Get him some fox fur. Allison, that's truly incredible. Just you in your house yelling, "Stop icing me out. I need fox fur." Is truly, I can't, it's like wonderful to picture. It really is.
I feel like John is like needs to have like a group about talking about what it's like to be with me.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so
He needs
too.
a support group.
Why doesn't he just start his own TikTok where he's just documenting his life with you?
He said to me that watching me live my life is like performance art, but it's just me existing.
That's what you want to hear from your partner. Although I will say, sometimes with Mal, like, I think that they're very funny. And I like try, there was like a series I was doing on TikTok where Mal goes outside sometimes and just stands around looking at the yard and just stands looking at it. And I would like do this sort of nature documentary thing where I'd be like, there's Mal every day doing their thing where they stand outside and stare at the lawn. What are they thinking about? We don't know.
Well, living with somebody, you're really getting to see all of them and all of their habits. And he walks around practicing his tennis swing. So I think that we equally have things we need a support group for.
I opened the door yesterday. Mal was outside in their underwear spraying. I said, "What are you doing?" They said, "Spraying for bugs." Fully in nothing else, just underwear. Why?
Can anyone see your house from the road?
Plenty of people. And I don't need cops. I don't need the cops calling saying, "We saw a transgender outside nude spraying for bugs."
They're not going to think they're spraying for bugs. They think they're going to be spraying to turn more people transgender.
Exactly. We don't need that. We're in the woods.
They're like, "What's that special spray?"
Mosquito Delito? Yeah, right. Which is what it's called. Anyway.
So I guess we're just normalizing that this is a very common issue between couples and trying to really not feel stuck in it, but, find maybe it even is involved in like going to sleep at different times sometimes.
Yeah.
Some couples have to sleep in different rooms.
Oh, my dream.
I know it is. And Melissa's. Hopefully this somehow helped. I don't think it did, but if you want to submit your international question, you can send it to justbetweenuspod@gmail.com. That's justbetweenuspod@gmail.com.
Up next, we've got an exciting interview with our highly esteemed guest, Danielle Bayard Jackson. Stay tuned. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp.
It can be tough to train your brain to stay in problem-solving mode when faced with a challenge in life.
But when you learn how to find your own solutions, there's no better feeling.
A therapist can help you become a better problem solver, making it easier to accomplish your goals, no matter how big or small.
When I'm stressed out, it manifests in my body. I get physical symptoms. And what really helps is talking to my therapist, who I've known for 9 years. I've had therapy, and it helps with like getting the things that are going on inside of me out so that they're not just like rotting me from the inside.
Can be also really helpful to role play with a therapist, right? So just sort of talk through a scenario that you're afraid to live through and get to have that practice by acting it out with, a trusted confidant.
If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option.
It's convenient, accessible, affordable, and entirely online.
Get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey and switch therapists anytime.
When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/justbetweenus today to get 10% off your first month.
That's betterhelp.com/justbetweenus.
Just between us.
Welcome back to Just Between Us. It's time for the juiciest, most scandalous, most controversial segment known to all of podcasting. Tough questions.
This week on the show, we have Danielle Bayard Jackson, a friendship coach who focuses primarily on female friendship and communication. Out of her love for all things female friendship, she founded Friend Forward, a digital community that provides coaching, workshops, articles, and connection events for women looking to create and maintain true friendships. And then you also have a book out, right?
It'll be out in 2024. Yes.
Oh, what's that going to be called?
So it's called Fighting for Our Friendships, and hopefully it's a roadmap to helping us get it together, essentially.
As we briefly said before we hopped onto the recording part, Gabby and I definitely needed you 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
For our annual blowout.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's hard out here. There's so many resources for like trying to figure out your romantic breakup. But I think the landscape or the extent of like the dialogue around friendship is you either have friends or you don't. And if you don't, what's wrong with you? So there's almost like this sense of maybe shame for not knowing what to do whenever you do have an issue.
And like this shame of like, oh, my friendship didn't last forever. What's wrong with me?
Exactly.
Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think all friendship should go the distance, or is it kind of more normal to have some friends for a bit and moving into other friendships?
Yeah, so I am always advocating for reconciliation because there's so much research that shows that, especially with women, our friendships tend to be a little more fragile because we have a smaller tolerance for perceived violations. It's hard to like get beyond them because we tend to be really close. But at the end of the day, yeah, try as you might. Sometimes it's just not meant to carry with you into that second season. And so trying to figure out how to release it with grace is, really important.
And what made you go into this line of work?
So, it's funny because sometimes when I do these interviews, I think a lot of people are ready for me to give this story about like, well, I just love female friendship and I want to show other women how to. And you know what? I had to get comfortable recently with telling like my real story, which is, I wasn't a really great friend and I've done a lot of really crappy things. And I know firsthand what it's like to not have healthy friendships and what those consequences look like. So what does it look like to get into something healthy, bring the best version of yourself, to show up when it's uncomfortable, to reconcile, in spite of your pride? And so I was actually a high school English teacher for 6 years, and I saw a lot of the drama with the students. And then I left the classroom and got into public relations. And I'm like, leaving that drama behind, those foolish teenagers. But, little did I know, I'm working with these high achieving women and they're expressing their issues as well. And so I came home one night and I was just curious. I got on Amazon and I was looking up friendship books. And at the time, there wasn't much. And of the few results that came up, they were for children. And I thought, this is what we think about friendship. Surely a child would need support. But if you're an adult, like, why would you need help? And so it's been 4 years of operating in this space as a friendship coach. And it's a blessing to have people trust me with what is a very like personal, tender thing.
Yeah. I mean, what does it mean to be a friendship coach? Like, what do you do? I'm trying to imagine like, that both parties need to be willing to go. Like, what does it look like, your job?
So most times I'm working with one person and they'll come with me with issues from, I'm trying to make friends, which is hands down like the number one issue, as you can imagine. But it typically comes with some kind of qualifier. So how do I make friends as a new mom? How do I make friends as a socially anxious person? How do I make friends? Which I hope shows us that we will always be having to make new friends. A lot of people come to me because they're trying to work through a really hard conversation. It's funny, but like they'll even bring their phone and say, okay, let me read you what she said to me and you tell me if she's great. So that's a big one. And we just like work through it. What are our options? How can we respond here? And then, finally common issues like, I feel like I'm always initiating in my friendships, or I feel unworthy to pursue friendships. And so, if you can get support, from a business coach for your business or from a counselor for your marriage, why not support for what I'd argue is one of the most important relationships you'll ever have?
And what kind of work did you do to feel like qualified to move into coaching? Because I imagine there's not like friendship coaching workshops or whatever.
I know. Right. Like, so I went to Friendship University. So, I already had my background in education. And then I was like, well, let me get certified to coach. And you can go with a myriad of programs. But on my own, I spend hours a week studying research regarding women's communication, female cooperation, female conflict. I interview the researchers who are going out there and doing these studies. And so like from my personal obsession, I just kind of like really get into this work so that whenever I'm providing strategies to other people, it's never rooted in, Danielle's opinion on what you should do, I can always say, ooh, okay, I can validate you and say, yes, 50% of women feel the same way, So I'm obsessed with making sure that the commentary I give is rooted in evidence-based things.
What have been some takeaways from your research that surprised you, if anything?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, it turns out that one of the single biggest factor that determines our overall well-being and life satisfaction is not our income status, is not our marital status, is not even exercise. It's quality relationships. And there's all this research on, if you eat well, you'll increase your, longevity by this percentage. And if you exercise this percentage, but connections keep coming out on top, having quality relationships with other people. And it keeps blowing my mind because when I look at that and then I look at what our culture tends to emphasize and celebrate, they don't match. And so that's just still like astounding to me. And they say that, loneliness is as detrimental to you physically as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I mean, there's all this research about how powerful and necessary friendships are. And so, I just think that helps to kind of keep perspective on how important it is to be intentional about this instead of putting it in the margins of our lives.
Because it takes a lot of work, especially as adults with like full careers. A lot of times partnerships, it can be like the friend part is like, oh, do I even have the mental energy to do this? I know I have felt that way, but then because of like kind of knowing that, I'm like, I must force myself. And sometimes it is kind of forcing yourself to like maintain these friendships.
Yeah. I think you should like go with that, that sense of, I guess I ought to do something. Let me text them back is a good thing. There's a study where they asked a bunch of participants, do you believe that, having friendships should be easy, natural, and organic? Or do you think that it, should require effort and work? And they followed the participants over a span of 5 years. The ones who said that they believe it should be easy were reporting greater feelings of loneliness than the ones who said, I expect it to require work. So if you're feeling like, man, this I've got to do all this effort and schedule hangouts and I got to remember to do this, go with that because apparently that's exactly what you need to keep that connection.
Honestly, I see it as like, it's reciprocity. So maybe I have a partner right now and I don't feel the need to check in or reach out or whatever, but I do it and I maintain the friendships because who knows? Like, what if, something happens and then those people that they break up and then all of a sudden they want to be friends with you again.
Mhm.
Like, it's that kind of thing where you're like, who knows like where you'll be at or what you'll need. Like maintaining these friendships is like very healthy because you might think, oh, I don't need this or something or let it go by the wayside. And then something will happen and you don't have anyone.
Yes. Okay. First of all, preach. Yes. And there are several people who come to me because of that. I'm like, okay, what brought you here today? What's going on? Well, I broke up with my partner
Exactly.
and I neglected my friends for 3 years. It's really hard. You get obsessed. And there's research that even supports that people who are partnered who have friends have more successful relationships and I learned a lot of this from my colleague, Dr. Franco, but friendships are stabilizing. So if you're having an issue in your romantic partnership, if you have other outlets and resource, then you come back like more level-headed, you have perspective as opposed to this being the only, primary relationship in your life. And, friendships at the root of hopefully healthy romantic relationships. So getting your friendships right is important in the span of like all your relationships.
I can feel myself getting like weirdly emotional because when my fiance left me, my friends saved me. Like I like, and it was so, and I've like kind of written and talked about this, but like at the time, like I was feeling like my friends didn't really care about me. Like it was a pandemic. Like I've often felt like I'm the one who puts in more effort in a lot of my friendships. And I had like this feeling of like, oh, my friends don't care. But when he left, oh my God, my friends showed up for me in this way that like, it's so weird. I'm also maybe in a slight depressive episode, so I'm easier to cry. But like, it was like this real testament where like, if I hadn't put in that work during the course of that relationship to maintain those friendships, like that blow would have been like way worse. Because there would have been, and I mean, they were like hysterical looking back now because it was like midst of the pandemic. So I'm hysterically sobbing, but my friends can't touch me. Do you know? Like,
That's really
it's like
that's really
being
beautiful.
in like the parking garage of my old apartment, like sobbing, and one of my best friends just like standing there being like, I'm here. I can't hold you, but I'm here.
Just kind of like
Yeah.
the air, just like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that you have this lived experience that's a testament to what the research says. Like, yes, my friends carried me through. So that's really beautiful.
You know, I've heard that doing favors for people or asking someone to help you with something brings you closer. Like that's something that creates intimacy. And it's so hard for people to ask their friends for help. Like relying on, I've had experiences where my sister lives in Los Angeles as well. And that's a person who I'm like, just go pick up my car. Like, stop it. You're being whatever. Take advantage, Whereas like then if she can't do it, and my partner and I are somewhere else and I have to go get my car from getting, maintenance done on it. I have to get comfortable being like, this person is my friend. If I ask them to go pick up my car, they're not going to hate me. And then people are happy to do things for you. And just the way that you would be happy to do something for them. And it creates this like cycle where now you are closer than you were before. Like I've had experiences where I'm like, okay, no one's around to talk. I don't know. People aren't responding. Maybe this person could actually give me some advice. And I reach out and then that person and I are closer because I took the vulnerable step of being like, do you have a second? And it creates like, I think there's this like vulnerable thing of like being scared to ask for things where people would be happy to do it.
100%. Yeah. I asked a bunch of people, I kind of surveyed them, and I said, which of the 3 statements is harder for you to say? I love you, I'm sorry, or I need help.
Oh, it's the third one.
And I need help. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And a lot of times we keep our needs to ourselves for noble reasons. Oh, I don't want to bother her. I don't want to be a burden. But we don't realize that, like you said, that reciprocity, it feels good to give support. Like, let me know that there's an opportunity to show up for you. I want to do that. But for some reason, we feel like we're being strong by, not inconveniencing our friends. So you're right. It's weird. It's kind of like weird intellectually to put those 2 things together. But I think the more we let ourselves get the help we need, like you said, oh my gosh, it does a lot for creating platonic intimacy.
Do you think you should be like, hey, if they're not going to ask or something, do you think you should be like, hey, if you're ever out of town, I'll watch your dog, like apropos of nothing, just to try to, you know what I mean?
Sure. I think whatever works. I think sometimes, depending on the friend, sometimes you could bang on the door and say, yeah, okay, I know you're leaving like an hour, so I'm here to help with the dog. Some friends we've got to like force them to kind of, let them know I'm here and you can trust that I'm here. You could trust that I won't think less of you. I won't think you're weak or weird. But I need a chance to show up for you as my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that kind of gets into something we've tried to address on the show, and I think Gabby and I both struggled with the right answer. Is like when your friend isn't letting you help them, like they're going through a hard time, and you want to be there for them, but they really aren't like giving you that avenue. And I have a friend who whose mom is really sick and has been for a while, and I've wanted to be there for her more than I've been able to, but I also want to like respect her boundaries. And so how do you kind of like navigate that?
Sometimes it's hard to like have the right answer, but what I have found to be most helpful is to telegraph your dilemma. So a lot of times we're like, I don't know if I should do option A or option B. Should I help? Should I push? Should I stay back? And sometimes saying to my friend, I don't know if I should do option A or option B. So sometimes letting them know, you know what? I'm torn because I want to respect your boundaries. But at the same time, like, man, I really want to show up for you because I know what it feels like to be out there on your own. So you let me know what I can do, but I want you to know that I'm sitting here looking for ways that I can show up for you. So help me out, or even framing it as help me. Do you want to just do a Netflix marathon and we don't talk about the issue at all? Do you want to be distracted? So sometimes letting our friends know, man, I'm torn because I really want to do this, shows them that it's not just empty words when we say, let me know if I can help, which too many of us do.
Yeah. I also have a thing of now as I'm getting older, appreciating the people who continuously show up instead of reaching out to the people who don't. So like when it was this is like, so whatever, but like when it was my birthday, I did a test of like, okay, who is going to text me on my birthday? And those are my real friends. What?
Melissa is shaking her head at you for this test
I said,
of friendship.
No, it wasn't a test. It was just like, who is it going to be? And I will say that the people that texted me are the people that like me more than I like them. But you know what? Then this was 2 years ago. Then I changed my mind and I said, no, I'm wrong. Those are the people that like, why I need to be, you know what I mean? So I completely changed my mindset and I was like, I'm focused on those people now. Those are my friends. And like started being more reciprocity to those people because I was like, why am I hurting myself with these friends who don't give a shit about me? And like, you know, okay, maybe my partner was saying like for someone so self-assured in dating, I'm so insecure with friendships where like if like someone hasn't written me back in 2 days, I'm like, well, I guess we're dead to each other. Like I'm very like, so like I have like, you know, this sort of, it wasn't a friendship test. It was just a hypothesis where I thought the people that texted me would be the people that I don't give as much to. And I decided if that's who wrote to me, I would then dedicate the next 2 years to giving them more. And I was right.
Okay, so first of all, I am not surprised to hear about your scientific approach to figuring out with your hypothesis, okay? But man, if I had $1 for every time someone said something to me about like, so it was my birthday last weekend and I realized like things surrounding our birthdays, I'd be, you know, doing this interview with you from Bora Bora, okay? There are so many people who are inspired by what did or did not happen on their birthday. And I think there's something psychological there about how much weight we put on the birthday, what it represents. So who shows up. And I hate to say this because I want to look like I'm perfect to you. But I mean, recently, a good friend of mine, I forgot her birthday. It came and went. And the next day I was like, holy crap, yesterday was Jamie's birthday. Oh my gosh. Now she's a friend who's so like, she's not announcing it. She's not one of these people who's on Instagram like, it's my birthday month. Here's the itinerary. Like it's quiet. And so I forgot. And I just, you know, then I went back to trying to, how do I recover? Oh, I'm taking you out for drinks and let's do. But fortunately. That
I like.
Yeah. You know, I'm trying to show like, this is so not okay. We are going out. I'm horrible. Let's do this. So that she can see my heart and charge that to my head and not my heart, you know?
Yes.
And so, but that matters though. So we have to weigh the evidence that the friends have given us prior to that day. Are they normally there for me and showing up? And today is so out of character and I can give them the benefit of the doubt. Or are these people who are like constantly sleeping on me, you know? And today just like was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Well, I guess something I've been navigating is also like different levels of friendship. Whereas I used to think like if someone was my friend, then I knew everything about them. They knew everything about me. We were like so close and that's what a friend is. But do you feel like there are different kind of like levels and intensities in friendships and that's like okay and there's value in that?
Oh, 100%. And I will say this, I know I keep saying like, you know, women's friendship, female friendship, and I like to clarify because the research that I use, the participants identified in that way. And I say that to say women tend to have a tendency of considering closeness based on self-disclosure. So we do say like, gosh, whoever knows the most about me, that's my friend. But men have a tendency to call anybody they've known for 20 years their friend, even if they haven't spoken to them in 3 years. But a woman is not likely to be like, we haven't spoken in 3 years, but that's my girl. Like we don't do that. So we tend to negotiate closeness through exactly what you just said. Who knows the most about me? Who's the closest to me at this time? I see that come to a head a lot when it comes time to select your bridal party. That's a whole thing because I'm thinking we're close, but you didn't make me maid of honor. It's a whole thing. And so like, yeah, you get to set the criteria of what dictates, okay, these are my close friends and this is my second level. I know that if you Google like friend types or like friend levels, there's like a billion articles on like, here's how to determine your, you know, and people like clear cut answers. But the answer I generally give to that is, yes, it's okay to have a set of friends who you see as closer than your tier 2 friends or whatever. But research shows that they're both important. So there's this idea, this concept known as Dunbar's number. The idea is that your brain can only handle 150 connections. Okay. Now I know your follower count might have you think otherwise because you're like, I have 20,000 followers. What are you talking about? But our brain hasn't really evolved since, you know, what it was, 150 connections. So if you think of that as like this huge big circle and then like these smaller, I guess, concentric circles inside of it, the smallest circle can contain 3 to 5. You only have room for 3 to 5 super close relationships, which kind of makes sense because of like what's required emotionally. You're trying to give to each other. It demands a lot, right? And then out of that, you've got like 10 to 15. So these are people who maybe aren't my super close, but like, yeah, they know about me and I enjoy hanging out with them and we see each other. We kind of refer to those as your weak ties. And research shows that you need them too because you're more likely to get a job from somebody who is in your weak tie. It brings a boost to your mood to talk to somebody in your weak tie because they exist in circles that are outside of your network. So you benefit, I guess, from them, not to make it sound transactional. So we need all of that. We need our close friends. We need our tier 2 friends. They're all important. But if you're trying to be besties with like a squad of 15, 20 people, that's just not happening.
Tell that to sororities.
I know. I do. I keynote speak at a lot of sororities and I'm like, this is really beautiful to see all of you beautiful ladies here. So you can't all be best friends. That's not possible. Let's talk about it. And it's kind of like, ooh, this is not the content we approved before the presentation.
Wow. First of all, wow. I it's really gender affirming to hear that I identify friendships like men do. But
I mean,
people get so mad because I'll be like, that's my friend or like, that's my whatever. And they'll be like, when's the last time you talked to them? And I'm like, 5 years ago, but I knew them when I was 12. So they're my friend, which has burned me in the past, actually. But I'm wondering, and this is not gendered in any way because I think men do this too, is how important is it for the group of friends that like you can talk about each other? Do you know what I mean? Like to have like 5 or 6 friends so that you can go, guess what's up with this person? You know what I mean? Like how important is that sort of It is. Allison, you don't think it's important to be like, to talk about like, oh, well, this person has this going on or whatever with someone else in the group?
I mean, what's your intention there? A lot of times
like,
maybe,
oh, what do you think's going on with this person and their partner or whatever?
I'm also somebody where my friends know each other because I tend to like host parties and get-togethers, but very few of my friends have like relationships with each other outside of me. So I don't really have like a friend group in that traditional sense.
Oh.
And so for me, if I need to like process what's going on with a friend, I'm much more likely to like talk to my partner about it, to be like, I'm worried about so-and-so, or like, what are your thoughts on so-and-so versus like another.
Oh, see, I have a group. There's like a queer group of us. And like, we'll be like, oh, did you hear X, Y, and Z? Not like, did you hear? More like, did this person tell you what's going on with their partner? What do you think? Is there something we should do? Like, and that's kind of like an important, like all of us, there's like a group chat, you know what I mean? Everybody's kind of, how important is that?
How important is gossiping behind your friend's back?
Just me?
It's not gossiping. It's not gossiping. It's not gossiping.
So let me break this down, okay? And you tell me what you think.
Yeah.
So this is kind of aligning a little bit because women tend to be more dyadic, a tendency toward being dyadic. So meaning just like one-to-one friendships. And exactly what you just said, our groups tend to splinter off. So a lot of us, our friends aren't friends with each other for the most part. It's like you and me, but men have a tendency to have a group. I don't know why I'm laughing because I'm like, oh my God. But men have a tendency to have, a larger group.
The boys.
And so sometimes, I mean, yeah.
We literally all went out and we were like, what's a bunch of trans masks? And we were like, boys night.
There you go. And again, I always say tendency because I know that there might be a woman listening who's like, I have a quad. Yeah. Like, okay, yes, okay. I'm just talking about, I am generalizing. Yes, tendency research is generalized, But so let's talk about the gossip thing, okay? Because I think I've changed my mind on this because of research. It changed me. I'm a changed woman. So gossip, a lot of times we do think of as negative and as like the motivation is something like sinister, right? And like we're being like stealthy and creepy about it. But, it could just refer to I'm talking about another person and they're physically not here. So the real question becomes, am I talking about or talking against? Is the question when we're talking, because it can be helpful if I'm having drama with person A to go to person B and be like, okay, what is it? Just me? Is she great? What's going on? Do you know what's going on with her? But it's because I'm trying to get information to help me understand how to re-enter the situation. And hopefully the person I brought in, their goal is to mediate and not hype me up in another way. Like, wait, what? She did that to you? Ugh, if I were you, I wouldn't talk to her. You know what I mean? So like, hopefully I'm choosing the people who can affirm me. They do want us to reconcile. But if anything, I think it's maybe mostly like a sociological thing. Like we talk about other humans and their life development and what's going on. So I think it depends on the objective.
We're going to take a quick break, but stick around. Inner peace is great and all, but you know what's better? Making it to level 1000 in Best Fiends. That's what true satisfaction feels like.
I'm not there yet. I'm only in the 800s. But oh my God, when I get to level 1000, I'm going to feel so accomplished. I oftentimes play on the toilet or when I'm waiting for food to get delivered because there's nothing else to do. And honestly, it helps me pass the time. It's kind of a stress reliever in the sense that like you're never going to run out of levels. And it's always so fun to play. And I get really obsessed with it too. And also the fiends are really cute.
Once you download Best Fiends, you can play anywhere, like Gabby said, on the toilet, even without an internet connection, which is great if you're stuck without Wi-Fi.
Right, you can play on a plane. Collect tons of fiends that get powered up as you play more levels. Every win brings new challenges, thousands of puzzles to play.
Download Best Fiends for free from the App Store or Google Play.
Plus, earn even more with $5 worth of in-game rewards when you reach level 5.
That's friends without the R. Best Fiends.
Just between us.
And we're back. We actually have lost Gabby to some internet problems, but I'm going to finish the rest of the interview because I could talk about this for days on end. So something I would love to ask about is like when there is conflict in a friendship, because you know, I think there is this sense when there's conflict in a romantic relationship, it's really important to, you know, directly address it. But I've often felt with friendships, I'm like, well, I'll just ignore this thing because why not? It seems easier. So what is sort of your advice on when you should actually bring something up to a friend?
Yeah, to your point, it's harder to tell because I feel like when we're leading up to our romantic relationship, we see so much messaging around like, okay, we can work this out. Let's talk it through and overcome, you know. But for at least from what I see culturally, a lot of the messaging around friendship conflicts is that it's an indicator that then she must not be the friend for you. Time to get a new friend. You know, like there's just like they're disposable. Or if you're having issues, it's a sign something's wrong, as opposed to the same attitude. Oh, it's something we can work through and get over it. You know, and it's interesting to hear you say that your tendency might be to say like, oh, I'll just kind of ignore this and it'll go away, because others are like, oh, well then we have this issue, so I'm going to cut her off. And so I guess I wonder if that's where like attachment styles. I'm always curious about that. You know, in terms of how we approach conflict. But, you know, whenever you ignore, it doesn't go away, because that discomfort is going to manifest itself somehow in your body, in your relationships with other people. You know, now your partner has to hear you fuss about it all day. So it's coming out some way. Maybe you're being passive aggressive to your friend a little bit, or sarcastic because you kind of want to put it out there, but not totally. So it's coming out some way. You might as well figure it out, and how to bring it up. And I think the first thing starts with kind of reframing how you see conflict. If you see it as something's wrong with you, or if you're scared that bringing it up means she's going to abandon you, like what's that about? You know, I'm sure some of it is shaped by how conflict was addressed in your home. Was it a bad thing? Did you guys talk about your issues? And I always like to say, especially if it's the first time, that it can be playful when you bring it up, so it's not so intense. So let's say you have a friend who's, you know, always blowing up your phone, okay? And you're trying to work and do things, but she texts like all the time. You know, we might want to just sit on that and say like, okay, well, I'm just going to ignore her, or I'm going to pretend I didn't get it, or, you know, while we're fuming. So maybe something playful, like next time we talk, saying like, okay, oh, and by the way, I know sometimes it takes me a while to get back to your text, but girl, I mean, you can't blow up my phone like that. Or sometimes I just get like in the zone with work and I can't respond till like 6 o'clock. So just moving forward, I'm going to get to you like at 6 o'clock because I can't keep up. I cannot keep up, you know? So it's like, how can I playfully still communicate the thing so it's not so heavy, but she also has the data that she needs to love me well? Like, how do I communicate this so she can love me well? Because as my friend, of course, she wants to know what the guidelines and the boundaries are, you know?
And I also wonder sometimes the issue is like not even what's going on between you and the friend, but like the way the friend is living the rest of their life, and then like your opinions on that. Do you know what I mean? Like having a friend who maybe like the they come to you for advice, you give it, they then never listen, and then they keep
Mhm.
coming back to you for advice on the same thing, but they like, how do you navigate that? Because then you're frustrated at like how they're living outside of the friendship versus within the friendship.
Right, which is so hard because you want to be like, stop talking to me if you're not going to listen to my
Yeah.
sage advice. Um, yes, that is so frustrating. So again, it goes back to I like to almost put it back on them. So let's say it's like the 100th time she's talked to me about quitting her job or dating a guy that I think is horrible anyway. So I'm not going to counsel you through this. Sometimes I like to say exactly what we kind of mentioned before, the same approach. Well, I got to tell you, I don't know what to say here because you keep bringing it to me and I'm not necessarily a fan of him, but at the same time, I want to support you. So at this point, I really, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say here, but I want to show up for you. Sometimes putting it on them to help them see how hard it is for me to come up with the right answer, especially if it's not authentic to how I really feel. So it's hard to push her toward reconciling with the guy I think is a jerk, but I also want her to be happy. What do you want me to do here? And sometimes they already know. I found that it's helpful in guiding them toward maybe being a little more decisive or at least being a little more discerning and what they expect out of us when they put us in that kind of situation.
Yeah, because I've definitely been in situations where I can tell that my friend like wants my approval on something I don't approve of. And so like,
Right.
how do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's hard. And you also want to be authentic. No one wants to do that. Well, you're my friend, so I'm going to pretend so to say something like, to the effect of, let's say she wants to get a tattoo of this dude's name on her face. And you're like, oof, what do I say here? So to say, okay, so I'm not necessarily a fan of a face tat, I gotta say. But if you're going to do it, I think these tattoo shops, they're doing the best on Yelp. So that at least makes me feel better. Like, how do I support an aspect of what it is you're doing that I can support without being inauthentic to myself by putting a stamp of approval on the whole thing? And hopefully you have friends who like at least respect the honesty,
Yeah, I've tried to like frame it like, well, we just like approach life differently, or this is the way that I am. Or like, I don't know, it's so hard.
Yeah, I like to say extract the piece of the situation that you can get behind. So let's say that, and I know I keep talking about partners, but that's like a big one. Let's say she's saying that this guy's going to take her out on vacation next weekend and you think he's horrible. You want to say, oh, that broke bum can take you on a trip. That's amazing. I didn't know that. But instead I'll say, oh, okay, well, you know what? I hope you have fun because you have had a really rough month at work. You deserve this. Take pictures because I'm not going to lie and say that's really beautiful for you too. So like extract the one part you can support and hype that up. And then, there you go.
Right. And I'm very similar to Gabby in that I'm incredibly insecure in my friendships. And I've had a lot of friendship trauma. And it is really hard for me to feel safe in friendships, even friendships that at this point are, decades long. Not decades, but a decade, long. How do I work through that? Like, like it's a big question, but like, is there just something about like, well, this is always going to be a trigger for me. This is always going to be a tough part of my life, but like pushing through that because like we talked about the importance of friendship outweighs the discomfort? Or is there like, have you seen people be able to get to a place where like even if they've had a lot of friendship trauma, they can get to a place of like actually feeling safe in friendship?
Yeah, sometimes it sounds strange, but like even using our friends to support us in things that are taking place in the friendship itself. So again, I always say like I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach. So I like to, so I focus on where are we now and where are we trying to go. So where I'm trying to go is to try to feel safer and get the support that I need. A couple things. One is try to remind yourself of the evidence that you have that these people do care about you and that it is secure. When your mind gets to ruminating about like, oh gosh, they're probably bored of me, or they're probably going to get upset at me, or they're probably going to, wait a second, what evidence do I have that that's not the case and that they want to show up? That way you can kind of like have it grounded in like these solid facts. The second thing is sometimes using our friends to help us through. So let's say they take forever to text back. And so now we're thinking, oh my gosh, what's the matter? Or what's going to happen? Is to let them know like, oh gosh, I got nervous for a second. I have no idea why sometimes I freak out when I don't hear from you, but I'm trying to work through that, So sometimes like as a friend, let me know what the pain points are. So I know that this is an area where you need reassurance and hopefully I don't mind as a friend. So if I know like, oh, she kind of freaks out when I when I take 6 days to respond or whatever it is, then that's a friend that I'm going to step it up with, like intentionally, just because I know it just adds a little bit of calm for her, especially if it's not something that's like huge, like requiring me to like bend and contort in all these ways, then of course I can do that to reassure you. So those kinds of things are helpful when we're scared that a friend will be mad or that the friendship will collapse under the weight of like our internal, fears, is to look at the evidence you have and bring your friends in and give them a chance to give you like the affirmation you need to be okay.
Yeah, I love that. It's still hard.
You're like, I hear you, but
I
I'm
hear
dying.
you.
And
Logically, emotionally difficult. Well, this has been so helpful to me. I think so many of us struggle with our friendships. I know Gabby and I have struggled with ours. And so even though I can't ask you a billion questions, I can ask you to play hypotheticals now that Gabby is back online with us.
Hi.
welcome back.
Thank you. My internet shut off just long enough for me to come back for hypotheticals.
Because the world knows, the universe knows that that's something you can't miss.
Can't miss it.
So hypotheticals is a game where you and Gabby are my contestants. I'm going to give you a series of hypothetical situations. You can ask any clarifying questions you might have, and then you tell me what you would do in that situation, and then I get to pick a winner or say you're both wrong or just move on.
Wow, it's like you're a coach. You're our coach.
Yeah, I'm coaching you through how you should handle these situations.
I love it. I'm ready.
So our first scenario is called, would you stay with this cheater? Your partner of 6 months is still heartbroken over losing their dog in their last breakup.
Aww.
This leads them to going over to their ex's house and initiating a late night, half-hearted hookup so they can sleep in the bed with their beloved dog one more time. They spoon the dog all night and mostly ignore the ex. Would you forgive this cheater?
I love my dog so much.
Right?
Ooh, this is tough.
Okay, clarifying question.
Yes.
Was the extent of the activity spooning in bed with the dog?
No, there was some mild hooking up.
That's so tough.
Half-hearted, passionless hooking up.
Passionless. Okay, I'm imagining a situation where, because I kept the dog with my ex, and I'm imagining a horrible situation where he pretends to be into me again so he can see Beans, and I would have been my last straw. Do you know what I mean? That would have been my last straw. So I feel like it's mean to the ex, and I'm going to say no. I will not stay with this cheater.
Yeah, I would not stay. And so I'd say, I hope you got your dog back because that's the only thing that's going to be keeping you warm at night. And I would exit stage left.
Yeah, that's called self-respect. That's called having an exit line. That's called, are you a fan of the Real Housewives? I feel like you throw a glass of wine in his face and peace out.
Flip a little table.
Flip a table. Yeah, why
But what
not?
you really, to add to that, you then adopt a dog that looks just like that dog that day. And then you go, you're losing both of us. And then you go off and have a beautiful life with this dog.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I feel like that is the scenario I would most understand around cheating.
Right. You'd be like, well, you wanted to see the dog.
I get it.
Yeah, but I was at a gay club and the ex approached me and I was like not in a place to chat and I was like gonna cry and he kept being like, oh, well, how's Beans or whatever. And I was like, and that made it worse. I was like, don't ask about the dog.
Yeah.
Don't ask about the dog. I was going to say I understood child custody agreements because I was like, you're not going to see this dog. You're going to what? Come back into his life and get his hopes up? Absolutely not.
That makes sense. Promise it a trip to Disney and then not fulfill your I don't think so.
We had to change school districts because of you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all on the same page. Really can't do that. Okay, our next scenario. Are you a terrible parent? Your child, 18, doesn't know what they want to major in, and it is eating them up inside. So you put a variety of different majors in a hat and make them pick one. They randomly select graphic design and go on to have a middling career as a graphic designer. They don't hate it, but they don't love it. Are you a terrible parent?
I'm going to go with not a terrible parent, just a not very creative parent, if that was the way that I encouraged you to figure out your major.
Okay, here's what I thought this was going to be. I thought that they were going to select doctor. And then when later you would reveal that every piece of paper said doctor.
That
Which
was
is
what
that's what I
parent.
would do. Which is what I would do. 50 pieces of paper, they all say doctor. I'm Jewish. I don't have time. I don't have time for this.
That's good. Ooh, that's good.
What would be the more creative approach?
Oh, I guess maybe doing a a survey on your Instagram stories so your followers can just like vote.
Oh my
And,
God. Oh my God.
I love
Well,
that,
okay, because
that is
at least
still so bonkers, but like, yes, it is more creative.
at least those people know a little about you, and they'll like, put something that you might actually like. You're a parent, you just put random jobs. You didn't even try to think like, well, when they were 6, they wanted to be a vet. Let's put vet in there. Like, you didn't even think about them as an individual human.
Well, you put in some really popular majors that have a good program at their chosen school.
And then just for spice, like sword swallower, and like just like for spice, dolphin trainer, whatever it is, just some random stuff.
Wow. I do feel like I missed a calling as a dolphin trainer.
They are very communicative. Here's the thing, working in a water-based field, you would just have wrinkly fingers all the time. I don't know. Not for me.
All right. That
Although I took surfing lessons from this guy who's beautiful. And his whole job is he just travels around the world teaching surfing in different places. And he just gets to go to like beautiful locations, teach surfing for a few months, and then go to another beautiful location. And I was like, I've screwed up. Like this, why am I trying to do entertainment? I should have just been this guy.
Well, but then you'd have pruny fingers, so that's a real
And
tough
I
call
can't do
for
it.
you. Yeah. Okay. Our final game. Would you forgive this liar? It's so silly.
Allison, sometimes she
Sorry.
laughs at her own ones, and I'm like, what is about to happen?
You decide to go home to visit your parents for the first time in a year. You ask your mom if she is free to pick you up from the airport, or if she has plans, because if she's busy, you can just take a cab. She says she is free and she will pick you up. A few days later, you bump into one of her friends who is upset that your mom missed a local award ceremony for her charity work in order to pick you up from the airport. Would you forgive this liar?
This is like a Ruth Raskin. This is not a Karen Grainer Dunn, let me tell you. This is a real Ruth Raskin. This is Allison's mom energy, and like not mine at all.
What do we think?
That's so sad. I forgive her. Sad.
Forgive.
I'd be like, Mom, have
Yeah.
some
That's a tough one.
self-esteem, some self-confidence.
Well, no, it's not really that so much as like having like differentiation.
Martyr complex.
Or like the ability to put her own needs first.
Oh my God. I take her to a friendship coach. I say, we got to work on communication. Mother and child is friendship, if you think about it. You're welcome.
Thank you for the plug.
I don't know. My dad's in therapy with his son. So what are you going to do? There's therapy for everybody. Not me, though. I'm perfect.
Would you be... Oh my God.
I'm
Need
in
a
my own
minute to recover
therapy, but
from
I'm
that.
not in family. I'm not in the family therapy. I don't have to go because I'm good.
Is that why?
No, it's because I'm not fucking going to that.
Right.
But spin it how you want.
Yeah, I'm the perfect child, and so I don't have to go. I would feel so bad. I feel so bad. Poor mom.
Danielle, would you like try to use your insights to explain like why that was not the right decision?
You know, as a mom, it's tough because for her, is this the right decision? Like her love just like, extends beyond. Like, does this fulfill her more? I don't know.
Oh my
I don't
God,
know.
that's so sad.
Is it sad or it might be beautiful? I don't know. Well, you've learned quite a bit about me and Gabby through this process. We have learned even more valuable things from you. So thank you so much for coming. And where can people follow all the amazing work that you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Friend Forward. That's all the good stuff. And I also have a weekly podcast called
Cute.
Friend Forward.
Cute.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Stick around after the break. We'll be talking all about investigating a former head of state. Ooh, drama. Welcome back to Just Between Us. It's time for topics.
XXXXXX,
Baby.
Someone wrote that Melissa doing the third baby is like the M. Night Shyamalan twist. Like someone commented and was
saw
like, they're
that.
never sure if it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what they meant.
I think so because,
Or maybe they didn't know who was doing it.
but we announce it when I do
I
it.
know.
But I think because they commented on it on the episode that Mal was on and I wasn't on it.
Right.
So that might be.
Because
Oh.
Mal did it in lieu of Melissa.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And because Melissa was on the beach that makes you old.
Okay. Very
Do
good.
you remember
M.
that?
Night Shyamalan humor.
Hilarious.
Also, I love that now that we do the full episodes on YouTube, Melissa is now forced to join us for every single topics.
Am I? I could sit out.
No.
I could sit out.
Oh, man. Anyway, today is August 12th. And so picking a really like topical topic weeks before the episode will come out is a risk. I think we can talk about investigating a former head of state more broadly and also more specifically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because for those who aren't caught up in American politics, we had a pretty revolutionary thing happen where the FBI raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate where he lives. He like lives in a hotel, but they basically like raided
Yeah, resort.
Resort.
He lives
Yeah.
in this resort,
Mar-a-Lago Resort.
and they raided his where he lives, and they had a warrant, and they went after looking for specific things in his home. And so, other countries have a history of investigating their former heads of states, but for criminal behavior. And America has always really prided itself on never having done that, on always having a peaceful passage of power. And I think there is sort of this sense that like, we don't do that here. But I think that is like very problematic because what if the former head of state is committing very dangerous crimes? Like we can't just like not investigate because of like being proper and like, oh, we haven't done that.
Yeah. I thought this episode was going to be on Richard Nixon.
I was going to say, but Nixon was in power when that happened. So, I mean, yeah, it is very interesting. I'm trying to think if there's ever even been a former head of state that was doing anything that we knew of to investigate.
Right. That's the thing. It's like, this is different.
Yeah.
Like what he's doing is different and also like dangerous. And I think people are like, this sets a terrible precedent for us. But I think
this sets a perfect precedent. This is what we should be doing.
Right. Because otherwise it's like, then, when you're president, break all the rules, do all the crimes, do whatever. And like, we won't touch you.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually hadn't heard that before. Like people were saying that this set a bad precedents. This just seems, again, and we've talked about this before, just because there's no, like, it hasn't been done before or it's not being done, like it should be done.
Right.
I thoroughly believe that, like, even after the election, why was there no investigation when Democrats firmly believe that Russia tampered with the election? Why wasn't there an investigation?
You mean which election? Because there was for the
2016.
2016. There wasn't like a,
well, what was the Mueller report?
that it was just that.
Yeah, but
wasn't,
what does that do?
it didn't do it. There wasn't like a investigation. Like they didn't really look, like they looked into it, but they didn't like really look into it.
Well, see, I think part of the issue was I think Mueller did look into it, but I think he was dealing with this there not being the precedent of of bringing charges against a sitting
Mhm,
president.
that's it.
So even though I think had the evidence to do that, he felt so deeply uncomfortable being the first person to do that instead it was like, we leave this up to the Justice Department.
And then nothing happened.
Right. And then it's like, oh, the Justice
Yeah.
Department by the president that you're investigating. Of course, they're not going to move forward with anything.
What do they think they got him on?
They're supposed to say today, like they're whatever.
Releasing the warrant.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of speculation that it has to do with nuclear documents, that he brought home nuclear related documents that are like a big public safety hazard because like if that gets into the wrong hands, like people will know about our nuclear program.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
I can't believe that anyone was arrested for anything in Florida. Wow. So they're going to release the warrant today and say what it is they were getting him on? What if they're investigating and then there's like they find like dead bodies?
Well, there is one on the
They
golf
go
course.
in there They go in there for a warrant. They find out he's just been burying bodies in the golf course.
Well, he has.
I would believe it.
It has been.
What'd
4
they say?
minutes ago. Hold on.
Ooh. Dead bodies.
Recovered 11 sets of classified documents in Trump search. Inventory shows.
Why did he bring them home? Did he just forget?
I have no idea why he did that.
Why would he bring those home?
They took around 20 boxes of items, binders of folders, a handwritten note, and the executive grant clemency for Mr. Trump's ally, Roger Stone. A list of items
Was the
removed from
handwritten
property.
note it just said, "Dear Mr. Policeman, I gave you all the clues."
The list contained a 7-page document that also includes the warrant to search the premise.
Okay, so hold on. So do we think that he just like brought this stuff home to sell? Like, do you think he's like just like is like highest bidder? I'll give you the codes.
I really don't know. I don't know. I don't think that Trump is based in reality. And so it's really hard for me to even speculate on why he does the things that he does because he's operating under different belief system than what I believe to be true.
I feel like he just forgot and he like took a briefcase home.
No,
And then just,
there's
like,
boxes
forgot.
that the boxes are actually labeled. There's various classified SCI documents. There's a box that was labeled top secret sensitive compartment information. It also says agents
sorry.
collected 4 sets of top secret documents, 3 sets of secret documents, and 3 sets of confidential documents. The list didn't provide any more information about the substances. The boxes were labeled.
The boxes were labeled top secret. Do not remove from White House. It's truly wild. But like, what does it like? This idea that like, oh, we are discrediting the presidency because we're now going after a former president. Like,
We already did.
no, he has discredited the presidency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he is the one that has taken away any beliefs that we had that it was like a position of some, like, I don't know, like,
I feel like it started with Nixon. I feel like the American people started having, or at least white people, started having less of a regard for the presidency starting with Nixon. And then they felt like they got it back a little bit. But then like, you know, Clinton had his own scandal and George W. Bush was mocked. And like, you know, I don't know. I'm not a political scholar, but I really think like this is like the peak of something that's been building with regards to how people view the presidency.
yeah, it's no longer like a respected position. Like, I don't think that like, because I think especially with Trump, it's like the idea that it has to be a certain type of person to become president is gone.
Yeah, it's like done.
like
Mhm.
anybody could become president. It's no
Yeah.
longer like a sacred thing.
I'm ready.
No. Please,
I'm of age.
Melissa.
Yeah, it's
Don't-
very exciting. Yeah, it's just really it's horrifying to me how quickly then his supporters went to defund the FBI. Like,
Right.
these people are out of control.
And they're trying to make it, they're now saying like the FBI is like this far left group, and it's like, we don't want them.
FBI is a far right group.
Right.
Yeah, it's truly wild. It's wild how they're able to just completely change their perspective in order to align with whatever is going on with him.
Mm-hmm.
That like anything, like whatever storyline makes it so that Trump is right and someone else is wrong, it's like in 1 second. And it's really, that's what's so scary to
Yeah.
me.
I love my comrades at the FBI.
What do we rate this bonkers ride of an episode?
I rate it 13 out of 12. I'm sorry my internet died.
I'll rate it 50 out of 40. Breaking news developing still.
Yes.
Honestly, this is a breaking news podcast.
It'll be so late.
It'll be a month later.
Whatever. Crooked Media, you think you got anything on us? Come at us, baby.
They'll be like, we are already in a different year than what you guys are talking about. And I will rate it 31 out of 14. Friendships matter.
Aw.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to Danielle Bayard Jackson for being our guest.